Welcome back to Pipes Etc., episode number 14. I'm glad you could stop by. In this episode, I will be conducting my 6th challenge. It will be between two Virginia Latakia blends. So grab your favorite beverage, light up a bowl, and sit back and take a break from the hectic day. Today I am enjoying some LJ Peretti Blend D7485 in my Rop Vintage Briar, Liverpool. An excellent Latakia blend for burley lovers, and maybe a blend for those that enjoyed Frogmorton. This is my first Latakia blend since the beginning of summer, really. A good blend to help cross over into my autumn blends. But for this challenge, it will be between two blends that I've never smoked before. They are GLP's Laurel Heights and Low Country Black. Two very interesting contenders. So let's see how they do head to head. After this challenge, I'm going to do something new. I'm going to keep the winner in my rotation and send the other one to one of my subscribers so they can try it out. I'm interested in hearing other opinions on these blends, so I'll choose somebody that, well, I feel would appreciate the opportunity to try a new blend. And perhaps they will do their own challenge, or maybe just simply report their opinion. Anyway, on to the challenge. To get started, I will read each company's description of their blend. Let's start with GLP's Laurel Heights. This is how GLP's describes their blend. Rich, ripe red leaf forms the base of this wonderful Virginia blend. The flavors are deep and round with a smooth, natural sweetness and subtle notes of orange peel, roasted oats, leather, and peat. The smoke develops richness as it progresses, delivering a long, clean finish that is never cloying or syrupy, with hints of malt and grapefruit. For lovers of darker, natural, unstoved Virginias. Interesting. Laurel Heights comes in a 2 and 8 ounce container. I think it's more or less their typical options. It's always nice to have options. As usual, I open the blends before the challenge because I found I get a better sense of the blend's aroma after it's had a few minutes to open up, like a bottle of fine wine. Plus, you don't need to watch me struggle to open any tins. Cut my fingers on the lids. Can be comical. But anyway, let's take a look. Okay. As expected, Laurel Heights is offered in a typical GLP's ribbon cut. The ribbons are an orangish color with a few darker pieces. Some even lighter than that. Moisture is about right, possibly a bit on the dry side of ideal. The aroma is just what one would expect after reading the description. The red Virginia stands out with a bit of sweetness, but also a bit of sourness too, and maybe something citrusy like oranges, deeper than lemon. There's a faint grassiness to it, not much, but I really didn't pick up any of the Latakia. That's interesting. All right, let's move on to the next blend, Low Country Black. And here's how Low Country describes their blend. A bold, swarthy blend of bright Virginias, stoved reds, and fragrant Latakia with a hint of sweetness. An additional note, warm and earthy with a light and lingering sweetness that is carefully interwoven with a subtle smokiness. All right. Low Country Black comes in just a 2-ounce cat food tin. Let's take a look at it. Seems to be more of a coarse cut, but it does have some of the typical Cornell and Deal ribbons in it, which seems reasonable. It is blended and packaged by Cornell and Deal. Interesting. The dark red brown ribbons are quite noticeable, as are the dark brown, almost black pieces. There are a few, very few, lighter colored ribbons that I would assume are the bright Virginias. The moisture level is noticeably on the dry side, but not too extreme. Both of these have been sitting out for only about 5-10 minutes. Wow. The smokiness is quite evident, almost like a grilled hamburger. Wow. There's also a faint earthiness to it. The Virginia's influence is hard to detect. Instead, underneath the smokiness, it has more of a, like a cigar-like aroma. Interesting. So now it's time to move on to the tasting. For the next few days to a week, I will smoke both the blends side by side, and then in the next segment, I will share with you my thoughts and give you my ratings. So, on to the tasting. So now that I've completed the tasting, I'll move on and offer you my opinion and the ratings. But first, I would like to offer you my beverage pairing. Not to give away any details, but finding a beverage to pair with these two blends turned out to be more difficult than I at first expected. Maybe I was just being too picky. Anyway, I went back to each blend's description to see if that might help me decide. These are the descriptions that stuck out the most. For Laurel Heights, it was described as rich, ripe, and with subtle hints of leather and peat. I thought that was an interesting description. Low Country Black was described as bold, interwoven with a subtle smokiness, warm and earthy. Okay. So now I understand what might be the best pairing for these two blends. And what I found is 2 German Rausch beers, or smoke beers. And the two I chose are Echt Schlerferle Rausch Beer Wiesen to pair with Laurel Heights, and the Marzen for the Low Country Black. Let me read for you how the brewers describe the Wiesen Rausch beer. Schlenkerla smoke beer wheat is an ale with a light smoky aroma. As Bavarian wheats, it is being brewed with a mixture of both barley malt, and wheat malt. The portion of the barley malt is hereby a classic Schlenkerla smoke malt, while the wheat malt remains unsmoked. Served unfiltered with a natural haziness, Schlenkerla wheat reaches its full aroma through bottled fermentation with a fine top fermenting yeast. Interesting. And here it is. Smoky, smoked like ham. Bit of cloves. It's that smokiness that really gets you. Wow. Kind of yeasty. It's very aromatic and bold, but the aroma's really quite pleasant. Yeah, there it is. There's a smokiness, but it was much more reserved and balanced than I had first thought. The yeast and clove notes in the aroma carry over to the palate. There's also a slight hint of pepper, which makes it taste a bit similar to peppery beef jerky. Very interesting. The mouthfeel, medium. It's smooth and soft. Finish it's for what I expected. It's dry and crisp. And the aftertaste, it's a bit smoky with some breadiness, which surprisingly, considering the flavors involved, I figured it would be much more toward the smoke going on there. Interesting. All right, and here's how the brewers describe the Marzen version. It's a shorter description. Bamberg Specialty, a dark, bottom-fermented smoke beer brewed with original Schlenkerla smoke malt from the Schlenkerla maltings and tapped according to an old tradition directly from the gravity-fed oak wood cask in the historical brewery tavern. Seems like this has been around quite a while. Yeah. Noticeably more pungent aroma in the smokiness than the wheat beer. Smells like salty smoked country ham again, but more like with fried bacon fat. Wow. It's hard to distinguish anything else. It just smells that like smoked ham. I can detect a hint of earthiness underlying the malt. Again, a very nice aroma. Yeah, there it is. The taste definitely brings out the smoke, but it doesn't seem as strong as the aroma. It's still very bold, but quite enjoyable. It does have a woody taste mixed with a salty ham flavor. With some hints of bread. There's very little bitterness and a bit of malty sweetness there as well. The body is in the mouthfeel. It's medium, slightly on the thinner side than I would have expected. But the finish is smooth, creamy, very dry. From what the flavor would again suggest, the finish is clean with not much aftertaste. The first one left a little bit of the smokiness, but not so much on this one, oddly. Very nice. Okay, so let's move on to the first blend, GLP's Laurel Heights. I've been using my 2 Rop Vintage Briar Billiards for these tastings. The Virginias are the most prominent flavor here in Laurel Heights. A bit earthy and a slight bitter sweetness to it. Maybe a citrus note. To me, the lot of influence I was hoping for is mostly missing in action. There is some smokiness to it, but maybe it's the aged Virginias. Doesn't seem like the Latakia. When I smoke a Latakia forward blend, I taste a certain smokiness, though in varying degrees depending on the blend. This is not that smokiness. It's more like Lapsang Souchong tea, or even the background smoky character in raw molasses. It's that subtle smokiness, not like upfront like barbecue. Laurel Heights was well behaved and burned cool when smoked slow. I packed it moderately firm. It did leave a noticeable amount of moisture in the bowl. Otherwise, really uneventful in that regard. My impression, another GLP's blend with high quality Virginia tobacco. It's not overly complex, but it is an enjoyable smoke and has its own subtle nuances. The Red Virginias are what one would make you come back for more, really. Rich, smooth, with a bready, earthy taste and a somewhat subdued citrusy sweetness to it. Very nice. Well, all right. Now to the next blend, Low Country Black. And here are my observations. From the tin note, I thought the smoky character would be more prominent, but its flavor is actually a bit more intermingled with the other flavors. The other noticeable characteristic is the nice and subtle sweetness, along with a slight grassiness and a woodsy spiciness. Maybe like cedar. At times, it tastes like a medium-bodied but spicy cigar, like a Gloria's Incienso cigar by La Gloria Cubana. Sweet cedar notes. Yeah, they're noticeable and backed up by an undertone of spice and a hint of leather. Being a bit dry out of the tin, it packed fairly well, but burned a tad faster than I would like. If I got too aggressive with my cadence, it started to get a little harsh. Maybe that was the dryness. I'm not really sure. My impression, due to the balance of smoky sweetness and a bit of spice, I find it to be a really interesting blend. As expected, the tobacco is of high quality, especially the Virginias. I think in order for the Virginias to keep pace with the Latakia, they had to offer some substantial flavors. And I think they do that. They definitely kept pace. Let's go on to the ratings. After close consideration of all the details, here is how I rate these two blends. On the Pipes Etc. rating scale, I give GLP's Laurel Heights a rating of respectable plus. On the Pipes Etc. rating scale, I give Low Country Black a rating of also respectable plus. Let me explain. It was hard to compare these two blends as they now seem like two opposite ends of this blend category spectrum. Laurel Heights being the aged unstoved Virginia end and the Low Country Black being the more Latakia smoky end of the spectrum. My final thoughts. This was a tough one, but each offered a nice smoking experience, and I think many will agree. But I don't think either one will be in my normal rotation. Not because they aren't good enough blends, but because they don't have enough of a distinct flavor profile to warrant adding an additional blend into my rotation. Actually, I believe I'll remember these beers as a good pairing with a smoky blend more than the blends themselves. The beers were surprisingly good. The blends, actually, I think they could get lost in the mix. But as to the blends, when considering Laurel Heights, it was like smoking Telegraph Hill without the Perique. Great Virginias, but too close to warrant adding another blend. As for Low Country Black, it is a very interesting and tasty blend. Well, both blends are, but I don't see me buying this again because it could have just a bit more to it and maybe be a standout to me. For instance, if there was some Oriental in Black, it would be an interesting take on a blend like L.J. Peretti's Omega or Dunhill Standard Mixture. To me, two different but more interesting blends. When looking at the big picture, the Latakia smokiness of one or the red Virginia characteristics of the other aren't unique enough to be more than just above Me Too blends. Though these characteristics do add a little influence to the blend, I just don't think it is enough to keep me from questioning if these blends belong in my cabinet. It's doubtful. They'd probably be pushed to the back. And in spite of the eroding number of blends available, McClellan, Dunhill, there are still too many that I consider duplicates or near duplicates. If someone else is interested enough to have a representative of each small nuance a blend can have, then by all means, definitely give these a try if you haven't already. But for me, I'm trying to refine the selections for my blend categories to not only find the top blends of each category, but also to call out any categories I don't feel are relevant to my preferences. I feel this category may be one of those irrelevant ones. In refining my categories, I will end up with a smaller but realistic list of blends for my rotation. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy trying new things. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing these challenges. But like the numbers and types of pipes I have, I'm not a collector. I'm a smoker. And I only keep what I feel fits my particular standards. We all do that. We just end up with a different list of likes and dislikes. That said, it seems that both of these blends are leftovers, and I'll be more than willing to give them to somebody who wants to give them a go. And I'll decide who it will be and then contact that person to see if they are willing to give it a try. And in my next video, I'll announce to whom I gave them and if they plan on doing any reviews and such. I'll leave that up to them, of course. Speaking of the next video, it will be Backroads journal entry, and it should be out in a week or so. This one is a visit to a couple of historic sites in North Texas, and it has a cigar connection, well, sort of. You'll see. So watch for that video coming up next, probably next week or week after. Well, that's all for this 14th episode of Pipes Etc. If you'd enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and leave a comment. If you want to receive notifications when my next video has been posted, click on the little bell. And finally, please remember to cover up those nanny state labels in your social media videos and images. Thank you for stopping by Pipes Etc., and I hope you will again. Until then, good day.